G'day EMCA, we're here with Kathy Fogarty from the University of Adelaide talking about police interviews with children.
Looking into investigative interviews, which is where children are interviewed by police about allegations of sexual abuse. And I guess I was sort of led by my interest in CA and was looking for a way to put that into child protection. And this was kind of an obvious one where there was a lot of talking going on. I guess it was obviously difficult, sensitive data to get hold of, but I did get hold of a set of 11 interviews, and I kind of went in without too many preconceptions of what I was going to find, like a good CA researcher. But I did know that I was going to see some things, I guess, like children's discomfort because they're talking about such sensitive matters that police need to get information on. So I kind of knew quite early that body gestures and things like that might have some relevance. So I guess I used the CA Jeffersonian style transcription on a lot of the audible things, but I also found a way to kind of represent body gesture as well. What the police most often have to work with is after they've done an interview, they do a verbatim transcript, so just the words, and it doesn't capture any more detail than that. And what this was able to add to it was to show quite clearly some of the constraints or difficulties they're working with when, for instance, children are silent for long periods of time, or children are really halting in their speech about a particular sensitive topic. And through that, it's possible to show how police would respond to that and how they would, I guess, dig themselves out of little cul-de-sacs where they'd get stuck and couldn't get kids to say any more. So CA was really able to show up that level of detail. And I think the other thing that was important about it was the main literature on investigative interviewing, particularly the body of work that focuses on what police should and shouldn't do when they're interviewing children, has this kind of metaphor, it seems to me, that Holstein and Gubrium first named, called the vessel of answers. This idea that if you, as an interviewee, or as an interviewer, if you ask an interviewee questions in a particular way, the right questions at the right time, etc., you'll get this kind of outpouring of truth, if you will, and in great detail. And so I could see that metaphor working in the main literature, and I guess I wanted to show primarily that how an interview goes, what ends up being a good interview, if you like, is a joint product. It's a collaboration between the child and the interviewer. The interviewer relies as much on the child's responsiveness as the child relies on a good interviewer to ask good questions and things like that. So I guess CA, through its sort of sequence organisation and turn-taking, you were able to see that and point to that more clearly than police would ordinarily be able to see. So they found that quite useful, to be able to say, for example, a really simple example, if only the courts could see that I had just suffered through a 16-second silence before I asked that question that was more focused. So the criticism might have been that they asked a focused question too quickly. They didn't leave it open-ended for long enough. But if you looked at all the interactional trouble, if you like, that was preceding that, you could see that this was quite a contextual thing to do, that the kid looked like they were severely uncomfortable. They need to get this information, so they've come in and asked a more focused question, but they haven't done it willy-nilly, if you like. Yeah. They've done it in a considered way. So that's the kind of thing that CA, I guess, could bring to this kind of data that perhaps, other sort of methods wouldn't be able to show up. Yeah. For that kind of reason, showing up some detail that wouldn't normally be visible to them. And I think they find it quite reassuring. And the other way that I think they've found it useful is I've been able to reveal to them some of their methods that may not show up in textbooks for how they do move children back into talking with them. So I guess it's showing up some of those kind of tacit skills that they've developed through doing the very work that they're doing, but don't normally get revealed. So that's, I think, quite reassuring to them. I think they do spend a lot of time feeling like they're not doing the right thing if they're not following a certain set of rules. But I think there are other things that they do that wouldn't ordinarily show up that are useful. Yeah. Look, it could. I guess I sort of struggle a little bit with that. Because on the one hand, it seems some of these things, these are social interactional skills that we develop and we carry with us into all kinds of arenas of life. So there is that kind of, I don't know, dilemma between, can some people just do this a bit better because they do that? Can you teach this stuff? And I know in the other literature they talk about that too. Can you actually put these skills into people or other? And I'm not sure about that. I have a sense that there's probably a certain amount of sort of natural ability that comes with it. But that's not to say that you can't point to things that are clearly really, if they're common and they happen often and they seem really unhelpful, I think you could point to those things and try and raise some awareness about those things don't seem to help, but these things do. Yeah, but yes, it could be led into some training, but not too prescriptively. I think I'd think that you can't with CA say do this and this will happen, because we know that's not true. There's so many contingencies in turn by turn. Yeah.